As youth leaders, we're always trying to think about how's the best way we can connect with our students. Well, today, I want to talk to you about how to create multiple access points between you, your church, and your students. Hi, my name is Vince Parker, and I'm the Central Ministry Leader of Switch, the youth ministry of Life.Church. Now, if you've been in youth ministry any amount of time, you've had this exact conversation. You go up to a student you see on the weekend, and you say, "Hey, Steve, how you doing? Great to meet you. My name is Vince. I'm the youth pastor here. I'd love for you to come hang out with us at our youth ministry on Wednesday night." And you might hear this response: "I'd love to, but I have practice, or I'll be at my mom's house, or I'll be at my dad's house," or whatever it may be. To which you respond, "Well, whenever you get out of practice early, or whenever the season ends, or whenever you're at your dad's house, come back and hang with us." And then, well, eventually maybe they do come, but for the most part, they don't, because they're actually busy. Now, how do you solve that problem? Well, you create multiple access points for your students to be a part of your youth ministry. Now, what does that look like? Well, for one, we all have our Wednesday night service or our Sunday morning service, or whenever you have a youth service. That would be one access point. Out of my church, we call them doors. The second access point you can create is social media. So what does that mean? Posting a bunch of memes, your church events? No. This is an opportunity for you to actually engage and create conversations with your students. So you may post a meme on there that makes them laugh and they post a comment. Well, turn that comment into a conversation. Respond to it. Take the opportunity to understand that for students, for Generation Z, this is a real life place. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, these are actual places where students go and engage in real life relationships. The third access point, or the third door as we call it at our church, is creating an online student service. Now, how is this different from your regular Wednesday night or Sunday morning service? Well, it's simple. It actually takes place online. In truth, there are many of your students and many people in your community who cannot attend your church at the time you have a student service. Think of it this way. If you have a 6th through 9th grader or even 10th grader who don't drive or have access to a car, they're limited to when they can show up. But if you had a service online, it's again, not simply just your content, but a service with leaders and volunteers who are engaging in the chat, away from the sign up and take next step, then what you're doing is you're providing another opportunity for a student to grow in their faith. You're providing another opportunity for a student to invite a friend to be a part of something, because they may not come to your Wednesday night or Sunday morning service, but they'd be glad to show up to a place online where, again, we've talked about before, Gen Z already lives. The fourth access point we like to call city groups. Now, what are city groups, you might be saying? Well, those are small groups that take place inside of homes. These are in addition to the small groups that you have in your building when you have your normal youth service. Now, how does this work? Well, one of the reasons we call them city groups is because we had a town in Stillwater, Oklahoma, who had some families that drove in from Perry. Now, that's about a 45-minute drive one way. On Sundays, that made perfect sense. They would drive in 45 minutes, go to church for an hour, have dinner, go grocery shopping, and then go back home. But for the kids to come back on a Wednesday night, well, that was a little bit extra. So what did they do? They started a city group in Perry where they met as a bunch of kids together and hung out. And it turns out we have some amazing leaders who live right there in Perry. Again, providing another opportunity for students to be impacted. Now, what's the fifth way that people can be impacted? We like to call it a student section. Now, what's a student section, you say? Well, it's simply this. It's where you take part of your auditorium, part of your sanctuary, and you block it off specifically for students. Because we all know there's a teenager who shows up on a Sunday morning or a Saturday night who just does not want to be at church. They'd rather be at home still sleeping, hanging out, playing Fortnite, whatever it may be. But if you have other teenagers who walk up to them and say, "Hey, I'd love for you to come sit with us," they're thinking to themselves, "You know what? I'm kind of mad at my parents right now because I don't want to be here, so I'll go hang out with you." While they're over there, what they encounter is other teenagers and other people who used to be in their exact same situation, and now the walls come down. We recently had this happen at a location where 4 teenagers walked in together, and 3 of them sitting in the student section gave their life to Christ because the walls were down. A student section just provides an opportunity for students to interact with one another, take a next step, and let the walls come down. Finally, the last access point I want to talk about is serving. Serving allows your students to use the gifts that God has given them to make a difference. Now, at most churches, you have the opportunity to serve with kids or the host team or hospitality or first impressions, as it might be called in your church, whether it be serving drinks or hang out with kids. But what about the gifts that are inside the students or the passions that they have? Maybe one of the kids wants to start a recycling club. Well, most churches don't have a recycling club. But what you do have is someone at your church who could mentor them to help them take a next step to start a recycling club. God's giving them passions. God's giving them the abilities to make it happen. All they simply need is a guide. Think of it this way. Anybody in junior high, high school, or even college, when you walk in the first couple of weeks of school, what do you see? Well, you see all kinds of clubs that you can be a part of, from the yearbook club to the recycling club to the architectural club to the football club, band club. These are providing multiple access points for students to take their next steps, their next journey in life. And that's what we've done here today. Talked about how you can provide multiple access points to students. We all know there's one way to God, and that's through Jesus Christ. But there can be several opportunities, several access points for them to come to know God through your church. You just have to provide those opportunities. Do you have to do them all at once? No, but you can start off one at a time and add from there. Well, we just talked about access points, and here's a great access point for you. Like and subscribe to the Open Network channel. Here's the deal, what I want you to know is that we as a church care about you. So go ahead, smash that like button and subscribe. And turn on that notification so you get that ding when we upload our next video.